Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we celebrate Pride, CARA's Gay and Gray Forum. This forum comes to you because a CARA member came before the executive board and asked to address senior LGBTQ concerns and issues. Seniors pave the way for our younger generation. A committee was formed, and many of the committee members are here today to help educate our organization through their stories. Today, we're very excited to have Senate Pro-Tem Tony Atkins join us. Senate President Pro Tempore Tony G. Atkins represents the 39th Senate District, which includes San Diego, Coronado, Del Mar, and Solano Beach, and parts of the unincorporated Rancho Santa Fe. Atkins was born and raised in southwestern Virginia, the daughter of a miner and a seamstress, and graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science from Emory and Henry College in Virginia. From her 8-year tenure on the San Diego City Council to her years in the legislature, Atkins has dedicated her career to serving as a champion for affordable housing, the environment, healthcare, veterans, women, and the LGBTQ community. She was the first San Diegan and first lesbian Speaker of the Assembly, and in March 2018 became the first woman and openly LGBTQ person to lead the California State Senate. She is the first person in 150 years and the third person in California history to lead both houses of the legislature. Atkins lives in the South Park community of San Diego with her spouse, Jennifer, and their dogs, Joey and Mia. Senator will be here just in a few minutes to join us. But before she gets here, let's go through the agenda for today's program. We're going to start off with Bill Seid and Susan Chasing, who's going to talk about issues and concerns as we age. Then we're going to move in from stories from our very own members. George Wyomas joins us from San Francisco, Jackie Smith from the Rockland area, Windsor Young from El Sprante. We'll take a short music video break with Lady Gaga's song Born This Way, and then we'll move into Bob Tucker, who is from the Newport Beach, Orange County area, Karen Anderson from Oakland, Pat Thompson and Barbara Brass from Roseville, and they have a very special trailer to share with us. After that, we're going to move on. Where does our organization go from here? What are we going to do to continue paving the way to educate folks about LGBTQIA, which is a new term that we add to the LGBTQ. Today, we have member Ellen DeBach Riley from Placer County. Ellen's going to talk about what her cat is doing up in Northern California in pulling together a committee and taking action. Then we're going to move into upcoming opportunities that are throughout the state of California and our nation. What we did is CARA put together a file. So all you need to do is go to the CARA website, click on that file, and we have listed events going on throughout California and our nation. There are pride events going on everywhere. This is an exciting month, and we're here, CARA is here to celebrate. So I believe that the senator will be here any minute now.
She's here.
And she's here. This is so exciting. Thank you so much, Senator, for being here. Let's highlight Senator Pro Tempore Tony Atkins.
Well, Susan, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm sorry to be a few minutes late. I'm doing actually a couple of Pride Zooms today, and I'm thankful that CARA invited me and that I was able to join you for a few minutes today. So happy Pride to everyone. Wherever you're joining us from today, happy Pride. You know, Californians, as we know, have been through so much this past year, and it really is time to celebrate our resilience and each other. I want to thank you and acknowledge CARA for organizing this event, a first of its kind LGBTQAI forum. As a member of the community, you're giving me a sense of pride to see the progression in the organization and this recognition today. Virtual events like this today have allowed for so many more of us to be able to come together in new ways that we've never done before, which really allows more of our voices, I think, to be heard, and that's more representation. I think these types of events have also really served as a lifeline as well in difficult times, particularly around isolation for so many this year. Starting next week, thanks to vaccines and the availability of vaccines, we'll all be starting a new chapter in the pandemic, with the state retiring its tier system. And when I spoke to CARA members last fall, before the shots started going into our arms, I expressed that the Senate was working to protect our most vulnerable Californians, including our seniors, of which I am a member of the senior community as well. I said it was the hardest year of my entire political career, but last year was also pivotal to my purpose as an elected official, I think. With nearly 6 million Californians over the age of 65, it's more important than ever to keep our state's seniors population and our needs, your needs, top of mind, which is why we've been so focused on developing the state's master plan on aging that was released in January. It serves as our blueprint for the state and our local municipalities to provide age-friendly environments and more inclusive coordinated services statewide. The plan highlights momentum that we've seen in the legislature to focus on the needs and the best practices for seniors, including expanding No Wrong Door, the approach to help seniors connect with services that are useful and that seniors qualify for. We need to identify ways to mitigate the isolation that so many face. Another priority on our minds right now at the state is the future of healthcare and healthcare coverage, including guaranteeing healthcare for all. As the Senate President Pro Tem, it's been important to me to make senior services a priority, especially in our budget process, which we are hopefully going to be able to wrap up by Tuesday, our constitutional deadline, June 15th. One priority that we have in the budget this year is to increase the funding for senior nutrition programs. It used to be that many people would go to a senior center or other places to have congregate meals. In the pandemic, we had to pivot and bring people meals to their homes. Going forward, we recognize that more food supports need to go to seniors, and I think you're going to see that reflected in our budget. I'm very excited about that. We're pushing for several changes to the in-home supportive services, or IHSS program, that will help keep and train good caregivers and protect the number of hours that seniors are able to actually have caregivers each week. I'm really lucky to live in and represent San Diego. Susan, I know you're here in San Diego, because our county is ahead of the rest of the state in many ways, thanks to our aging and independent services. We have a broad and intentional focus on creating age-friendly community with housing, healthcare, and social programs that offer real safety nets. LGBTQ seniors face unique challenges, and we know that. Some may not have children or partners. So long-term care is important. And if there is a lack of sufficient savings, we need to address those challenges for that care. And that's why I can't stress enough how important this forum is. It is the representation that matters, especially when it comes to your membership. And you are very active, and I so appreciate it. You know, I will close with this. We all have histories that shape who we are and what we value. And sharing what we've lived through and how we've connected makes us and our community stronger. And so does having LGBTQ elected officials, so that we can move forward and create support policy that positively impacts our specific LGBTQ community and our different needs. So understanding both the struggles and sacrifices that got us here today and the ongoing and emerging challenges LGBTQ folks, especially our seniors, face is really important. Pride Month celebrates the modern civil rights movement and recent advances in equality and inclusion. And that includes the needs of all seniors, including our LGBTQ seniors. So I appreciate getting to spend a few minutes with you today. I appreciate that you have focused on this in the month of June, Pride Month. So let's celebrate one another this month, and let's continue to work together to create a more inclusive and equitable future. Happy Pride. Susan, I'll turn it back to you. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, and thank you so much, Senator Atkins, for joining us. You are one of my sheroes. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Susan, back at you, and I love your colorful backdrop and everything. Thank you.
Bye-bye
Enjoy.
now. And thank you, and stay as long as you can. All right, next up, we have our very own members, Bill Sive and Susan Chasine. Susan, you're up first.
Thank you, Susan. I'm Susan Chasine, coming from Berkeley. I'm a member of SEIU 10-1 retiree group, and I'm also representing Old Lesbians Organizing for Change. Bill Sive and I are going to give you an overview of issues, both the general GLBTQIA community and that particularly affect seniors. Of course, gay elders experience the same issues as other seniors, but many of us also face challenges you may not be aware of. So we'll go over these quickly, but this presentation and additional resources will be posted on the CARA website. So don't worry, you don't have to take notes. In the heart and hands that Bill designed for our cover page, you can see the rainbow that's come to symbolize gay pride and the flag behind me. He also updated it with white, pink, and light blue bars for transgender rights, and black and brown bars for Black, Indigenous, Brown, and all people of color. Our movement is evolving, and it's part of the demand for social justice that's changing our country and the whole world. Next. We use a collection of initials, and if you're connecting by phone, I'll read just quickly. Each group is unique, and we have an umbrella. So we've experienced similar discrimination. Lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual. And then we use a plus sign to indicate two-spirit, pansexual, polysexual, and queer, Black, Indigenous, people of color. Each of these terms has a history and sometimes more than one definition. Everyone in our community isn't comfortable with all the terms. For example, queer has been used as an insult, but it's also been taken as a proud and rebellious label. We encourage you to inquire what term a person uses for him, her, or their self, and you can also look up more information about each group online. Next. The next we call the lens of oppression, because many LGBTQIA seniors have been subject to discrimination based on their identification or status in this community. We're calling it the lens of oppression because we've been stigmatized and we grew up being told we were sick, sinful, criminal, or deviant. This discrimination has made self-expression more challenging. Even in today's world, it's more accepting because we grew up when it was very dangerous to identify as we do. Some of the problem is internalized homophobia. Many of us thought we were the only ones with this quote unquote problem. Social institutions and policies reinforce that fear when people assume that everyone is straight and that gender and sex are natural binaries, either or. Next. So we also want to stress that we're resilient, and we've forged resiliency through our struggle for personal and civil rights. Our community has innovated and celebrates LGBTQIA culture and our own institutions. And you'll hear more of that in our members' personal histories. I think there's somebody that could mute because the sounds of a keyboard are coming through. The struggle for HIV treatment broke ground in encouraging people to come out and acknowledge their queer identity. Our age group remembers when Rock Hudson told the world he was gay, and when Ellen DeGeneres came out on TV, barriers were broken. We've founded archives, legal rights groups, defenders and lobbying groups, cultural icons, music festivals, and commercial associations, professional groups, and performance groups. And through all of these venues, queer, Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and all people of color have struggled with us and in solidarity with us, and built an understanding of intersectional identity and oppression. It's no accident that two of the founders of Black Lives Matter are lesbians. Next. And finally, structural discrimination. We talk about structural racism. There's structural homophobia. Economic bias has made it harder to have a financially secure place in life in later years because we might have been discriminated or outed at work or even terminated and denied pay raises and promotions. And of course, because we were denied the right to marry for many years, tax breaks and partner coverage weren't available. There was terrible discrimination in the military, and two of our members are going to be telling you a lot more about that. Social Security spousal benefits weren't available, and upon disability or death, extended family members even now may swoop in and take possession of real property or other assets and dispossess or even evict a surviving partner. And now Bill's going to take over. Next.
Thank you, Susan. My name is Bill Sive. I've been a member of CARA since 2016. I'm a member of the Southeast LA CAT, and I'm a member of the Long Beach Gray Panthers. So following Susan, we want to illustrate the disparities that we reach for healthcare. Some of our oldest of the LGBTQ elders, and by older, I'm talking about older adults that are in their 70s and 80s, who through no fault of their own, had to live two lives. They had their private life and then their public life, and they separated the two. And by doing that, they're not out to their healthcare providers or other people that provide support services, because they don't know if their healthcare providers or providers of healthcare services have a background in cultural humility training and understand the unique needs of LGBTQ older adults. They're concerned about their healthcare needs. For instance, lesbians will be asked questions about their reproductive history. Trans people have very specific healthcare needs. And most of these older adults, especially ones that I personally know that are 75 and above, who may be going into a skilled nursing home long-term care or other congregate living situation are actually terrified because, again, they have no idea if the people managing those buildings, the staff, has any kind of cultural humility training and are sensitive to the needs and expressions of their LGBTQ residents. Well, we are fortunate in California that in 2017, Governor Brown signed the LGBTQ Bill of Rights for long-term care. A lot of personal friends of mine who are in their 70s and 80s are not aware of this, and sometimes I'm doing education on that. Next, please. And being unique, for LGBTQ older adults, myself is a great example of that. When my parents found out I was gay, they gave me three choices: move, change your lifestyle, or find God. So I left because I wasn't going to suppress my lifestyle. And it's illustrations like that where LGBTQ older adults, like myself, have formed families of choice, as opposed to having support from my own nuclear family. So normal at that time, LGBTQ couples did not have children, but we can have children now, because there were times during the 50s and the 70s when homosexuality was considered a mental illness. It's no longer that way, but the damage is done, and many people consider people that fall in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum as being mentally ill, and that is not the case. And we know that's not the case because there are highly functioning, well-adjusted people who identify on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. We were barred for many years from adopting children. And even if we did have children, because of that mental diagnosis from the 70s to the 50s, we were estranged from children. So that way they're not there to support us in our older age. And if they had children, courts had the authority during that time to take the children away from their LGBTQ parents. So now they're estranged and they can't see their grandchildren. And these families of choice are robust networks for social support, congregate meals, co-housing, and other forms where they can live their lives with dignity. Next slide, please. Throughout the state of California and throughout the nation, actually, outside of major metropolitan areas, like in California, a great example would be the Central Valley, where it's harder to be out. There's not the support, like having a large place like an LGBTQ center may not be in their area. Faith organizations are uneven in being supportive to LGBTQ persons. So it's difficult to live a comfortable, authentic lifestyle. It's difficult for transgender people to find and secure safe, affordable housing. Other tenants may bully them verbally or physically. And you layer this, if you're Hispanic, Latino, Cambodian, African American, you layer all these discrepancies on top of all that from the disparities we already know that people of color are experiencing. So that's just an extra layer of oppression. Next slide, please. And we're glad that we live in California because California is a leader in many ways for the nation. So in 2004, California enacted AB 196, outlawing discrimination based on gender and sexuality in employment. In 2011, Assembly Bill 887 outlined discrimination in housing. Also in 2011, we saw the ask of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, where people who identified on the LGBTQI plus spectrum could be comfortably out in the military. In 2013, one huge win for the LGBTQ population was the United States versus Edith Windsor, allowing for inheritance to be passed to their domestic partners or now married partners, and that we didn't have to worry about that inheritance going to some family member or other place. Can now go to the correct person as designated on living trusts and wills. In 2015, at the federal level, Supreme Court ruled in favor of marriage equality. And then again, in 2017, California established a long-term care Bill of Rights and long-term care. The next slide, please. So the next steps, what are we looking forward? In this legislative year in 2021 in California, AB 218 is to update birth and marriage certificates. Now you may see, why are we adding birth certificates here? Because we know, especially since marriage equality, that there are many people identifying on the LGBTQ spectrum later in life. And if someone identifies as transgender or non-binary later in life, they can go back if they so choose and update their birth certificate and their marriage certificates. And this is what this assembly bill is all about. Having a non-binary option for AB 439. It's an extension of what we have now because you can declare non-binary on your driver's license. So this is just an extension of that. AB 465, cultural competency training for professional fiduciaries. For the longest time, fiduciary responsibilities is very unique when it comes to people who identify on the LGBTQ spectrum because we did not have marriage equality. It's a specialized field, and we're glad that this is there for training other people in the fiduciary level for people who identify on the LGBTQ spectrum. Also, something well-deserving for the state of California is Senate Bill 258, putting people in the category of greatest need if they have HIV and aging. And this does not just benefit people who identify on the LGBTQ spectrum. This helps people who are bisexual, but most importantly, there are plenty of people who identify on the non-LGBTQ spectrum who have HIV, so this benefits them as well. So there's a lot of times there are crossovers in some of the Senate bills and Assembly bills that benefit the entire community and not just the LGBTQ community. California has always been a leader, and we're fortunate that we live in California. LGBTQI plus older adults support AB 1400, and the reason we do is because the language in this bill is written towards inclusion of the needs of LGBTQ older adults. Next slide, please. So we want to thank, Susan and I want to thank you for listening to us. So bringing you this great big overview of some of the issues that we face from the present and the past. And if we can, together with everybody, we can all move forward. Thank you so much.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Bill and Susan. Excellent job. All the research it took for you to pull that together and educate us. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to have stories from our very own CARA LGBTQ members. Each member will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and staff member Jenny Chang will be our timekeeper. First up, we'll have George Wyomis from the San Francisco area. George, you're up.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm a member of the SIU 1021 West Bay Retiree chapter. As an older gay Latino, I am the recipient of culturally inherited homophobia. To this day, the word queer disturbs me. When I was growing up, queers were ostracized out and beaten up by the neighborhood allegedly straight men who had indulged in sex with us, their victims. Today, it's called homosexual panic, but then it was tops against bottoms. That encouraged me to look tough, take long strides instead of walking, not to stare at other men, and not to smile for pictures, and man up at all costs. About age 7, my father taught me to swim by throwing me into the waves of Copacabana Beach and watching them toss me back onto the sand, struggling to breathe. He cursed when I landed headfirst, but to escape his noise, I went back into the waves just by myself again and again and again until I could swim back shore, bruised and exhausted. Finally, my uncle, his younger brother, convinced him to stop, but I did not give him the satisfaction of making me cry. And that was pretty much for most of our lives together. Organized religion considered me a deviant, doomed to hell unless I turned straight. I rebelled against that in my Marist Brothers all-boys Catholic school. I had a crush on Brother Gerardo, who was built like a Nordic god. My homeroom teacher, Brother Tarcisia, knew about that. And one day during Bible class, he was selling classroom pictures. I refused to buy one. And he tried to shame me before the other boys. And he said, "If you don't like to buy my pictures with your colleagues, why don't you go and buy Brother Gerardo's pictures since you love him so much?" Mustering my courage, I said, "I don't have to buy Brother Gerardo's picture because when I love somebody, I love them here pointing to my heart and here pointing to my head forever and ever. But people that I have to tolerate like you guys, I'll forget." Brother Tarcisia just backed off. "Well said, Wyomis. You don't have to buy my picture." No one bothered me after that. No one bothered me. As an adult, I accepted that my parents would remain forever homophobes. I ceased to pay dues to the Filial Acceptance Club and moved away. They would prefer to have had a macho man. Instead, they got me. I was raised to be a Latino version of John Wayne, and the more I tried, the more Dolly Parton was showing. I had relationships with women. The last one was 38 years ago, and it ended disastrously. And may she forgive me wherever she is. But I could make magic, make believe with certain women. But with certain men, there was magic, music, poetry, and sometimes sacred dance. What I believe what scares homophobes is the fact that two men or two women may love each other in this lifetime and in the great beyond. And moreover, what scared them more is that we LGBT people, we can claim for ourselves the word of the Psalm 139, I thank you for I am wonderfully and fearfully made. Thank you.
George, I could not cut you off. That was wonderful. I, I apologize to the other speakers. I'm trying to keep time, but that was, I would not feel appropriate cutting you off. Thank you for sharing your story.
We're good. Thank you so much, George. You had me in tears. Thank you so much for that heartfelt, very personal. Thank you so much. Next up, Jackie Smith from the Rockland area.
Myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie Smith, and I am with the Placer Cat, and I'm also a commissioner of the Older Adult Commission for Aging for Placer County. I want to thank CARA for this opportunity to share with you my unique experience of running for the Assembly as an LGBTQ senior in one of the most conservative districts of California, Assembly District 6. In Placer County, they voted for Trump by 52% and Biden 45%. In California. I ran for the Assembly in 2018 and in 2020. A little of my background in 2008, I worked on the Hillary campaign, and then when she ran again in 2016. When she lost, I flew to Washington, D.C. and protested as well. I went to the Women's March. On the way home, my friend suggested that I run for office. And my question was, would the voters of 86 vote for an LGBTQ senior woman in Placer County because it's so conservative? The incumbent, Kevin Kiley, was so entrenched and they needed a Democratic opponent. So we decided to do a survey of 600 voters and found that 10% of the voters without question would not vote for me as an LGBT married woman. So it was already an uphill battle, but with the 60-40 Republican to Democratic difference, I decided to run anyway. The next slide, please. This slide shows a survey done by the LGBTQ Victory Institute of 300 former, current, and prospective candidates, the challenges that LGBTQ candidates face, and I would also add ageism in my case. With higher campaign costs, physical threats, LGBTQ bigotry, external perceptions of qualifications, I would also add ageism, LGBTQ bigotry, and lack of political mentors. I was fortunate, though, I had made a lot of friends in the higher ups in political context on my journey, which made it a little easier, but it was still very, very difficult. I was also worried about my personal attacks on the campaign trail, especially in 2018. In 2020, we worked remotely, but I was always worried about the repercussions of being LGBT. And in fact, in 2018, someone came in my backyard in the middle of the night and actually beheaded our fountain of a woman in our backyard outside our window. So I glued the head back on and I put 5 cameras on my house and got a big dog. But historically, women have a hard time raising money over men, and the barriers of LGBTQ women of color even harder. My experience is adding ageism is definitely another barrier. Raising money, even though amongst LGBTQ organizations as a senior, ageism became part of the discussion. The support of younger candidates under 40 was so blatant, but I persevered. With my background and my awesome smaller volunteer staff, we got 43% of the vote and an historic 124,000 votes. So going forward after my loss in 2020, I still am very active with senior issues with CARA and the commission, but I'm also president of Placer Women Democrats, helping women no matter what their age and to help them win even in this district. I want to thank CARA and Jody for allowing me to share this today. And I look forward to being part of the Gay and Gray contingent for CARA. Thank you.
Wow, amazing story, Jackie. Thank you so much. And thank you for putting yourself out there, right?
You're welcome. My
That takes
pleasure.
a lot of guts. Thank you for doing that. Next up, we have Windsor Young.
Yes. A while back, some straight friends asked me, when did I know that I preferred women to men? And I thought about the girl who babysat me when I was probably, I know no more than 7. And I'm probably like a lot of old people. I'll go to the refrigerator and not remember why I went there. Well, I can still remember the girl's name, Mary Jane. And this is over 70 years ago. And as I grew up, I knew more and more women that I loved. And so I knew, yes, you're a lesbian. And I had a problem when I was a teenager because the boys, for some reason, were attracted to me and they chased me. And so I have to admit, I was kind of nasty. I took their money. I went to the places with them that they paid for, but they didn't get sex. And I was not like a couple of my best friends who got pregnant during high school. And when I was 20, I joined the Air Force and I rose fairly fast because I loved what I was doing. I mean, most of what I was doing. Unfortunately, one of the jobs that I had to do was to prepare the paperwork for someone who had been found to be homosexual. They were discharged. That was probably the fastest way to get discharged. And so I knew that was going to be a stressful thing. And I got an assignment to Japan. And while I was in Japan, I met the first woman that I had sex with. And it was a difficult time because it was 1969. And those people who are old enough to remember 1969, there was lots of racial conflict. And because there was all this conflict, there was always a squabble between the black Wefs and the white Wefs. And this girl wanted me to be on the side of the black women against the white women. And because I was the ranking female enlisted woman, I couldn't do it. And so it got to be so much pressure. I put in for a humanitarian reassignment because my mother was my dependent at that time. And I told the people that I did the paperwork filling out that I needed to get back because she was having some health problems. And so I got the humanitarian reassignment back to Denver. And when my enlistment was almost up, I was called into the director of personnel who said, is there any place you would like to get an assignment to so that you'll stay in? I can get you an assignment to that place. And I says, no, I want to go to college. So I'm going to get out. Anyway, I started college and I still didn't know how to meet any lesbians. And I saw a sign that said gay group meetings, this place. And so I went to the meeting and I turned out to be the only woman there. And so at the end of the meeting, this nice little guy comes over and he says, if you want to meet some lesbians, you need to go down to Three Sisters, which was a gay bar in Denver. And so I went down there and I did. I met quite a few gay women and everything, but I didn't meet anybody that really grabbed me. But that was another problem that I had. I didn't have any idea what I really wanted. And most of the women that I dated, they had a pretty face, but they didn't have anything else that I was interested in. And so basically, I went through college and I graduated and I got a job in Rochester, New York. And while I was there, I met a woman, the first woman that I actually lived with for a time. And she was typical of the problem that I was having. I was only interested in the pretty face. And I realized when I retired that I really needed to get some more substance to the women that I went with. And at this time, you could legally marry, and I could legally marry another woman. So I decided I was going to be looking for someone who was more like me. She had education, she had drive, and she wasn't just interested in a pretty face. Thank you.
Windsor, that was fantastic. Thank you for that personal story. This is really heavy, so we got to break it up with a little music video by Lady Gaga, Born This Way.
Is it straight? No, gay.
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M. Just put your paws up, 'cause you were born this way, baby. My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in a glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe.
I'm tired of feeling disgusted with myself.
So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause I make no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret, just love yourself instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Give yourself prudence and love your friends. Subway kid, rejoice your truth. In the religion of the insecure, I must be myself, respect my youth. A different law is not a sin, believe capital H-I-M. Hey, I love my life, I love this record, and me, I'm on it, roll it, my eyes. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret, just love yourself instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way, born this way. There ain't no other way, baby, I was born on the right track, baby, I was born this way.
It validates any queer woman of color that you can follow your dreams.
Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, you're black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese.
Okay, well, that was great. We all love Lady Gaga. You know, she's out there pushing the message. You know, we're born this way, right? I know I was born this way. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part of our program. And again, I just want to thank the CARA members so much for opening up their hearts and sharing their stories with us. Up next, we have Bob Tucker from Newport Beach, Orange County area. Bob, you're up.
Hey, coming out at work or coming out anywhere is very personal, and it's a process. And so for me, I go back to 1992. I was an out school custodian, very proud of who I was. I'm sitting in the staff lounge on my break, watching TV, watching the news, and I had a coworker, instructional aide sitting next to me. And on the news it was June, and there was video of Pride celebrations going on around the world at the time. And the lady next to me says, "Why do they have to be so open and out like that?" And I turned to her and I said, "Because we can." And she looked at me almost in horror and said, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were gay." And I said, "I don't advertise it, but I said, I thought this was kind of a teachable moment. We're everywhere. And we're very proud about who we are." So as a out union steward and school custodian, I was very active. I went with my partner to Stonewall celebration, the 25th anniversary in 1994. And I'm sitting in the hotel room and I see this flyer about union folks coming together to form a national LGBT organization of union workers. So I went, and that was the beginning of Pride at Work, and soon to become Pride at Work AFL. Our goal was to become a constituency group with the AFL-CIO. Now, constituency groups, there's Latino, there's Asian, there's African-American, other groups with the AFL. So we were pushing to become part of that. And one year, I think it was 1996, the AFL was meeting in LA. And we're at the Grand Hotel in downtown LA, and Pride at Work's getting together, and we're gonna set up our booth to get it together and let people know we want to become part of the AFL-CIO. So we're disorganized, we're trying to get our table together, trying to find our flyers and everything. And this older Latina lady comes up to us and says, "Come on, let me help you, get it together." And she started moving the table, getting the flyers out, and sitting with us, and really encourages us, don't take no for an answer. That was the first time I met Dolores Huerta. For those of you who don't know, Dolores Huerta was one of the main organizers with Cesar Chavez. She was showing us what it was to be an ally, and I was blown away. She helped us get it together. The good news is, a couple years later, the AFL did recognize Pride at Work, AFL-CIO, and now we're still here, we're still queer, and we're still, like they say, get used to it. But to me, it was, June is about recognizing who we are, but also looking to see who our allies are and who's there to help us. And now that someone passed the torch to me back in the early 90s, it's my turn to pass the torch to the younger generation. And so when we say, whether Dolores Huerta says it, or I say it, or anyone says that an injury to one is an injury to all, that includes everyone. LGBTQ, I say queer, I'm comfortable with that. And I'll never forget being that an injury to one is truly an injury to all. And I'll continue to fight for my allies, and I'll continue to fight for our community. And thanks everybody for supporting June LGBTQ Queer Pride. Thanks.
That was fantastic, Bob. Thank you so much for fighting for us and not saying no. Thank you, Bob. Next up, we have Karen Anderson in the Oakland area. And Karen, you're on mute.
There. Hi. My name is Karen Anderson, and I've been a longtime member of CARA here in the East Bay and with Lavender Seniors of the East Bay. My story covers a lot of territory because after I learned of the creation of the Daughters of Leaders in San Francisco, I wrote to Del Martin and Phyllis Lyons because I wanted more information about this premier organization for lesbians. I never received a response from them about membership and whether there was a Chicago chapter. But after I recognized my boss, when I went to a midtown gay bar, I became scared that I was going to be outed and my government job was going to be in danger. I recognized the need to come out of the closet, and I was able to gain some group identity. So in 1985, when a position vacancy opened up in the Northern District of California, I applied for it, and I transferred both my position as a federal probation officer
You're muted, Karen.
Sorry about that. Oh, okay. I think it's the music. Cynthia, you can turn it up just a little bit. Cynthia's playing in the background the music to the recording Secrets by Linda Tillery. And picking up, my original plan was to relocate to San Francisco, but I found myself settling in Oakland instead. And I didn't know anyone in the gay community on either side of the bay. So I relied on what was then called the Gay Bar Guide to find my community. And that was how I found Ollie's Bar, which was a woman's own bar, restaurant, dance floor, disc jockey, and an event venue that supported women's music and activities in a women's only space. Woe be to the man who wandered in Ollie's Bar, even though it was illegal to have a public venue that was restricted. We very subtly made sure that there were only women within the confines of Ollie's Bar. For me, the highlight of Ollie's was Soft Sundays, where you could listen to live music, you could read a book, you could share conversation with women artists, musicians, and activists in the feminist movement. I found myself holding conversations with Pat Parker, a lesbian poet, Gwen Avery, a blues singer, Mary Watkins, an operatic composer, and Linda Tillery, who you hear in the background now. She was and is a musician, historian, and ethnomusicologist. At the Montclair Women's Club, I found a community of women that served and supported the move of Olivia Records, a women's owned music venue, to the East Bay, and concerts that featured Teresa Troll, Alex Dobkins, and Med Christian. I had arrived at the height of the AIDS crisis, which in '85 was another pandemic affecting our community. In Chicago, I had identified with the civil rights movement, and I became a follower of Jesse Jackson and what was then known as Operation Breadbasket, and later became known as the Rainbow Coalition. I campaigned for him when he ran for the Democratic presidential nomination in '84. That was my first foray into closeted politics, because as a federal employee, I was unable to identify myself or my employer. Unbeknownst to me, it was also in 1984 that Tom Broham introduced a resolution to the city of Berkeley to create the status of domestic partnership. While the school board voted for it, the city council didn't. And it wasn't until later that the city of Berkeley adopted a domestic partnership registry with the help of the East Bay Lesbian and Gay Democratic Club president, Vicki Kolakowski. And she became later the first transgender judge in the United States. Tom Broham went on to serve as the first openly gay board member of the Peralta Community College District in 1987. He was still serving when I was hired to work there in the personnel office in 1998. It was in '98 that my partner, Gwen Bouzet, and I became domestic partner number 575 through the registry that Tom Broham had created. Next week, on June 16th, my wife and I will celebrate the 13 years since Oakland City Mayor Ron Dellums officiated our marriage at Oakland City Hall with Congresswoman Barbara Lee as witness. This is our photo on that historic day. I have been in what has been called triple jeopardy since I am not only Black, but I'm also a female and a lesbian. But as a military retiree, you see my cap says nothing more to prove. National Association of Black Military Women. I have been in triple jeopardy all my life. In my youth, I considered myself an activist. And now that I've become less physically active, I identify as an advocate for the rights of all my identities as a senior. As a senior, these days, all of my identities are, where is it? Here, concentrated. Here you go. Lesbian, concentrate. Thank you.
Well, excellent, Karen. Karen, that was fantastic. And again, in the background, Karen had asked that the music of Linda Tillery from a long time ago be played. Thank you so much, Karen. Next up, we have an amazing story. Pat Thompson and Barbara Brass from the Roseville area. Pat and Barbara, take it away.
We're here. Are you going to show our video or are we going to talk?
Both. Just, you want to introduce yourselves and then we'll show your video.
Okay, well, we are here in San Francisco, just came in from touring at the Asian Art Museum. We're getting ready for tomorrow night's first and only so far presentation at a live theater with a live theater audience at the Roxy in San Francisco. We'll get to see our film for the first time on the big screen, and we'll also have an audience to enjoy it as well. So we're excited about that. So just go ahead and see this trailer. It'll give you a taste of what the film is about. And we hope you'll all, and in the fall, there will be, it'll go to distribution. So there will be an availability, but we don't know where, how it will be distributed sometime in the fall. And we'll let everybody know via CARA that how that is going to happen. So thank you for attending to this. And thank you for all that you're all doing out there.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
When Pat came over, I thought she seems nice. I'll find out who this person is. I don't know if I even heard about being connected to the military. I'm not really sure when you told me, but it wasn't something that I could understand how the impact would happen.
We both were resigned to the fact that we couldn't be out and that we had to really protect ourselves.
I was able to build a secret passageway that went from our bedroom and the bedroom that was supposed to be my bedroom.
We felt that we had to be closeted in our own home.
I had a lot of anger about that. And it wasn't only our society, but it was the fact that Pat was in the military.
I was asked to be the first Army National Guard chief nurse.
That really rocked my world because I had no idea how I would continue on in this relationship with that long distance.
But I knew I had to go. It was the top rung of my career ladder. When I got to the Pentagon, we frequently could not talk.
We had to develop a code so that we could communicate when we thought lines were tapped.
You were absolutely right when you were talking about the military. Just hate this oppression.
It's hard for both of us. I love you for all of the tolerance that you exhibit.
I get this huge cardboard box, and I started looking in it, and I said,
oh no, I can't do this to her.
I applied for a top secret clearance. I made the statement, I am a lesbian. I said, the Army is going to start discharge proceedings against you. And I was stunned, embarrassed, hurt. I had always believed that the Army took care of its own. And now they were coming after me.
and said that I had to be a part of that. Sorry that I had to do that to you. I wasn't ready to come out
Let's go.
until now.
Please welcome Pat Thompson.
Yay.
Pat and Barb, is there anything else you'd like to share? That was an amazing trailer. I know I can't wait to see that documentary.
Well, I wish you were in San Francisco to be able to see it tomorrow night, but you will be able to see it soon. And we're excited about that. And thanks for showing the trailer. If anybody has a question, that's fine, but I don't know what else we can say. You'll get to see the whole story. And we've been struggling to work on writing a book, and we might get that done someday if we live long enough too.
So Colonel Pat, here at CARA, we want to thank you so much for your service. And Barb, we want to thank you for your silent service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Next up, where do we go from here? Where does CARA take this from here? We are an organization of action. And today we have member Ellen DeBach Riley, who's going to tell us what her cat's doing up in Northern California. Ellen, you're up.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm sorry, I still get a little choked up when I see that trailer. I mean, Pat and Barb are such heroes for us. And Bill, thank you for bringing up a couple of personal experiences for me. My mom was a lesbian, and I remember her being terrified that my brother and I were going to be taken away from her. And then even in my lifetime, my partner and I inseminated and had 2 children and had to worry about them being given to other family members that would not raise them the way we would raise them, had Michelle not had the opportunity to do a second parent adoption. So things are getting better. But, you know, although CARA works on issues specific to older adults, we've already heard lots of stories about how those issues are different for LGBT elders. We've heard about the healthcare issues as people age, but transgender seniors are threatened with being refused care altogether. Just last month, the Biden administration had to overturn the former administration's attempt to erase non-discrimination language and effectively deny LGBT elders access to medical support and services. Hospitals can refuse visitation to non-related visitors. These things still exist. Death certificates, as was mentioned in the legislative portion of Bill's discussion. Caregivers, homophobic caregivers often reject LGBTQ seniors, provide substandard or refusing care when seniors are in congregate living facilities. And that forces a lot of folks to go back into the closet when they need their partner support the most. We talked a little bit about insurance benefits not being available to LGBT couples. Professional fiduciaries who provide critical services to seniors, and people with disabilities don't understand the differences in same-sex relationships, such as separate financial holdings or the absence of children and other family support. LGBT people don't have the right to employment sick leave to care for their loved ones in their time of need. Bill has already described a number of the bills that I was going to mention that, you know, is a way that CARA can support our community, and today being just the first step. Bill talked about AB 218, which was affirming records. He talked about AB 439, the non-binary option for death certificates. He talked about AB 465, cultural competency training for professional fiduciaries. And one that he didn't mention that I'd like to bring your attention to is AB 1041, Leave for Chosen Families, which expands the definition of family member for family and sick leave to allow covered workers to take time off to care for close loved ones who aren't biologically or legally related. CARA plans to form an LGBTQ task force that will meet on a regular basis to look at the work CARA is already doing and add our voice to that advocacy. We will seek to educate and foster engagement on legislation specifically addressing the senior LGBT community. If you would like to be a part of this task force, please contact CARA through the main office or the website info@californiaalliance.org. And I think that someone can put that in the chat for us, right? Okay, great. Local efforts. Many cities and counties in California fly the rainbow flag in recognition of June as Pride Month, but there's still many parts of our state that do not and outspokenly oppose this idea. In Kingsburg, California, a small Central Valley town off Highway 99, a council member is being threatened right now with recall because she suggested the rainbow flag be flown over her city. Where I live here in Roseville, we've asked City Council to fly the rainbow flag over City Hall in the month of June to celebrate Pride. It was not well received. They did agree to make a proclamation declaring June Pride Month and presented it to a group of queer youth from a local high school. And that group, with the support of a local gay pastor, is now negotiating with the city for funding and space for queer youth to meet safely in Roseville, hoping to build that into the first ever LGBTQ center in Placer County. CARA has been instrumental in helping to spread the word and build support for our efforts. On June 16th, this month, Roseville City Council will vote on one of two flag policies. Just yesterday, they published the agenda, and this is how it's worded. Quote, one version memorializes the long-standing past practice of the city in displaying only legally required and governmentally recognized flags at city-owned properties. The other version would allow for the additional display of a commemorative flag, i.e., a flag that is not formally recognized nationally and congressionally as a government flag or associated with a local government. This is what we're up against. I spoke to the person who wrote those policies, and he sees no bias in those descriptions. So what we're looking for is, if you'd like to help support our effort to have an inclusive flag policy, please call me or email me. I can put my email address in the chat box. Finally, there is going to be examples of resources for our community, for our seniors at large, and to highlight the need for us to unite towards our common goals. CARA will create a resource folder on its website, and it's already in progress, containing organizations, services, programs, and campaigns supporting the LGBTQ community, and will seek partnerships toward reaching our common goals. If you would like to contribute to our resource folder or help promote those partnerships, contact CARA at info@californiaalliance.org. And that's all I have. Thank you.
That was excellent, Ellen. Thank you for all the research and homework you did to educate us today. Wow, this has been a powerful day. I don't know about you, but my emotions are all over the place. Thank you all so much for your stories and research. This truly has been an educational forum. So what are we going to do with all this? As Ellen said, we're beginning to create a task force. We're forming that, and we'd love for you to sign up today. It's in the chat. You can scroll back down and find us in the chat, but If you don't know how to work that, no problem at all. Just go to californiaalliance.org and we have a resource page, a resource file for you there. There are events going on all through the state of California and our great nation. We have events in San Francisco, San Diego, Fresno, all over. I hope you're going to join a couple of events near you. Next up, we're going to have a question and answers, anything you'd like to discuss. And let's really focus on our new LGBTQIA task force. I'm not sure what the title will be yet. The task force will design its own title, but go ahead and ask questions or talk about maybe what you might want to do in your very own area with your cat. The floor is open. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, you can raise your hand by going to reactions under Zoom and simply click on raise your hand. If you're on phone, press *9. Now, I know we have a lot of stories out there of what people have experienced, and we have enjoyed looking at your stories, reading your stories in the chat. If you have any questions about formulating a committee or what you might want to do in your particular CARA action team, that's what we call CATs. And we have 17 of them throughout our great state of California. Let's see, do we have any hands raised yet?
I don't see any.
Yeah, we have one. Okay. Kristen Loomis, you're up next. Thank you so much, Kristen.
I was just wondering, I know that this is a day of celebration for us, for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. And also, I am wondering if there are still straight people, straight members of CARA who would have problems, say, talking to a family member who has come out, but they're feeling just a little strange about talking to. And if CARA could help those folks in talking to like grandchildren or great-grandchildren. I don't know if maybe nobody cares anymore, but I remember at one time it was like, how do I do this thing? How do I talk to my strange grandchild? And I thought, I realize it's not political, but maybe CARA could offer some clues for that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Karen, Kristen, I would say that, there's PFLAG and other organizations, but this is exactly the type of question and issue that we need to address. Thank you so very much for asking that question. And we're going to take that down in our notes as something that should be addressed in our task force so that we will have that resource to help people to be able to explain to their close ones how to explain it to them, right? Thank you so much, Kristen, for asking that question. We have another hand raised. We have Nan Grasmere. Hi, Nan. Dan's the president of the California Alliance Retired Americans.
There I am. Am I here now?
You are, Nan.
I have the damnedest time with this thing. Excuse me. Anyway, I was watching my favorite MSNBC, I think it was yesterday, and Justin Buttigieg was on, Pete Buttigieg's husband, excuse me. And he has written a book and it's called, That's What I Have to Tell You. And it's now been published. It's in hardback and paperback. And from the way he spoke, it discusses how do you talk to your family and your friends about this. And it got raves, so I thought I'd just throw that out there just in case it's appropriate. So that's
Thank you.
all.
Thank you,
I
Nan.
love this. Is very helpful, I must say, and very interesting.
Thank you so much, Nan. Next, we have up Susan.
Thanks so much to everybody. Susan in San Diego, I just wanted to say, when you use the acronym PFLAG, everybody online may not know Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. And it's an ally organization that has been so supportive. They march in the Pride events, but they also talk to folks that are struggling with accepting a family member. And it's a perfect example of what an ally can do in the community, because the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender person, her or himself, can't always be there, where a family member can say, I had a hard time too. One of the best videos or movies I've ever seen is called Canto del Colibri, and it's a film about Latino fathers coping with their queer offspring. So there's all kinds of things out there for folks that want to see how it is to be an ally.
Yes, thank you so much, Susan. And we have lots of time, folks. Why don't you you can let us know maybe an event going on in your area. Oh, we have some hands raised now. Fantastic. Art, you're up next.
Yeah, I want to say that I have personal experience with a member of my family. When my daughter was about 20, she came out, and I was very surprised, and it was a little difficult for me. I don't think I was as enlightened as I have become. I want to say that I've changed, and I think the society has changed over the years. And this is a political divide. Is one of the things that divides America now, is attitudes toward acceptance of gay people, and as well as other ideologies that divide the progressives from others. So I think it's in and of itself, it's an important issue. And it's also important because if we can help people get empathy on this issue, it may also help with others and vice versa. So I think it's a very important thing that we do in addressing prejudice against LGBT community members. I'm very thankful that you've had this program.
Thank you so much, Art, for that. Next up will be Bill Sive.
Hi, thank you, Susan. You know, as on the younger side of senior, you know, I see a lot. And what I'd like to let everyone know is that there's a documentary called Gen Silent. The documentary is about 11 years old. It sets the standard for understanding LGBTQ older adults, especially when it comes to skilled nursing facilities and long-term care. This is the first documentary to really address this issue. Even though it's a little bit older, it's still worth watching. It's a great educational tool. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because CARA and all the Grey Panther chapters in the state of California are all about, you know, nursing home reform, long-term care. So this is a very appropriate documentary for everyone to watch. I believe you can watch it on YouTube and learn more about the struggles of LGBTQ older adults at their older years, and when they're going and looking at skilled nursing facilities and any type of congregate living. Thank you.
And we have time for one more comment. And in the chat, Cordell Hindler, you have contacted and wanted to
Yes.
get in line. So Cordell, you're up next.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. So I have a similar story to tell too, and I'll keep it short. So about a few years ago, I was at a city council meeting in Richmond, and there was a group of LGBTQ youth from the Rise Center that was getting their proclamation, and deeply moved by a young woman who came out of the closet, and I was literally emotionally, but sometimes people can be very not welcoming. The fact to see people to hear this one person called a lesbian, and it's like that just hurts me. So I can relate to the youth. So and then what else? Oh yes, I have an announcement too. So is it time for announcements yet?
Well, we have one more speaker that's up, Cordell. If you have make a quick announcement, that'd be all
Yes.
right, real quick.
Yes. So everyone's invited to attend the performance of In the Heights. It's a movie musical at the Oracle Park tonight, and it starts at 8 o'clock. And the tickets are only $30 a piece. So please do see that. It is wonderful. So I will yield my time to the next speaker.
Thank you so much, Cordell. And up last now will be Sarah Cleveland. Sarah?
I think that this idea of the LGBTQIA task force is wonderful, and I would want to be a part of it if straight white people are allowed. My son is gay. He came out very late. My late husband and I, we always loved him for who he was. The only concern my husband ever had was that my son would fall in love with somebody HIV positive and become positive himself. And that did not happen. And my husband was in hospice care here at home. And my son and I are at the kitchen table. He hands over the notebook, and in it he's written, "Mom, I'm gay," which of course I had known for many, many, many years. And then, should we tell Dad? And of course, so we go to the bedside to tell Dad. And he whispers into Dad's ear, "Dad, I'm gay." And this is the best thing of all. Dad looked at him and said, "So what?" So I just wanted to present, a happy story, that we always loved our son for who he was from, the day he was born. And, I have never been able to understand why parents, especially women, we carry them under our hearts for 9 months, give birth to them, and then kick them out because they're not what we want them to be rather than what they are.
Fantastic. All right, well, this program, I think, has turned out, really, I think it's gone beyond our expectations. It's turned out really well. And Sarah, thank you for your comment, because yes, certainly the task force is for everyone. You certainly do not have to be LGBTQIA or anything related to any of those letters. You can be an ally, absolutely, because we are all one, we are all equal, and we are all in this fight for equality together. Whether you're young, whether you're older, it doesn't matter. We're all one human race. So this program has really been fantastic. And so right now we have Jody Reed, our Executive Director of the California Alliance Retired Americans. Jody, could you wrap it up for us?
Sure. I want to thank everybody who participated today, and Susan for leading us through the agenda. This was really an effort of love. And it's not surprising that one of our themes is love, and we want to support all of you and show our love through our creation of this task force, but just every day through the work that CARA does. And so just a big, giant hug to all of you. I can't wait to see you all in person. Some of you we may see on Monday. There's another Zoom event for Guaranteed Healthcare for All. Hopefully you all know about that. If not, contact us. And then we're doing an in-person event for the first time since COVID on June 15th for those who are able at the Capitol, trying to get Governor Newsom to lead us on guaranteed health care. And for those who want to be there but aren't yet ready to be out in a rally format, we're doing a car caravan. And we'll be circling the Capitol as the rally goes on. We're hoping the governor will be able to join us for a part of that event. And it's just part of all of this work that we're doing together. So thank you one and all. It is Pride Month. And so we would be remiss if we didn't end this event today with a final song and final video that's available to all of us. So we're going to end with a song just like we started. And again, thank you all so much for being here. And for those of you who shared your story and participated in the development of this program, our hearts go out to you. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody.
It's the day I finally get to look at the man that I love and finally say, will you please marry me?
Lightning crashes whenever I look at you. Striking matches light up my heart for you. Oh, the sparks on your skin set my lips on fire. Oh, love is not a sin. Burn me with desire. Feel it through your veins, feel the flames, enjoy the pain. Feel it through your brain, feel the flames that break the chain. Feel it in the rain, feel the flames, don't be afraid. Feel it through your sense, feel the flames. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, 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 love. Heat rises, come and dance in the shade, yeah. Falling ashes that cover your bare hands, yeah. Oh, the sparks on your skin set my lips on fire. Oh, love is not a sin. Burn me with desire. Feel it through your veins, feel the flames, enjoy the pain. Feel it through your brain, feel the flames that break the chain. Feel it in the rain, feel the flames, don't be afraid. Feel it through your sense, feel the flames. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, love, love. Burning your love, 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 love. You're like summer haze. You leave my soul amazed. So don't let us turn into dust. Yeah, yeah. Turn into dust. Yeah, yeah. Burning your love, love, love. 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 Burning your love, 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 love.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Thanks, Susan. You were great.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you to my fellow team members for putting this day together. It's a long time coming. Thank you, Jody and Kara. This is a phenomenal day.
Kudos to everybody.
Happy Pride.
Don't forget to save your chat.
Never put much heart in anything before. You strut into my life and helped me go for something more. Now I stand up for myself. Now I stand out from the crowd. Now I'm standing on high heels that Dad could see me now. Need the fire to take you higher. We'll light you up like a live wire. Celebrate you to elevate you when you struggle to stand. We'll take a helping hand. If you hit the dust, let me raise you up. When you bubble bust, let me raise you up. If you glitter rust, let me raise you up. And raise up. Need your fire to take you higher. We'll light you up like a live wire. Celebrate you to elevate you when you struggle to stand. We'll take a helping hand. If you hit the dust, let me raise you up. When you bubble bust, let me raise you up. If you glitter rust, let me raise you up. Raise up. Raise up. If you hit the dust, let me raise you up. When you bubble bust, let me raise you up. If you glitter rust, let me raise you up. Raise up. Raise up. Raise it up. Just me. Raise it up. Raise you up.
We're the same, Charlie boy, you and me.
Goodbye, everyone.
Keeps going.